Evening, John.
Hey, Wayne. Hey, Ray. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Ray?
I'm good. I'm just trying to get all connected here. You guys hear me?
We can hear you good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect. Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa. Hey, Melissa, I got a question for you.
What's that?
Your minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah?
Now, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I didn't see them on your SharePoint for this meeting.
Did I not put them there?
I don't think so.
Oh, sorry.
But maybe I'm not looking in the right spot.
Did you, so you haven't reviewed them?
No.
Oh, goodness.
I don't know if anybody else saw them, but
You know what? Now that you mention it, I haven't looked at them either.
Oh. Okay, so we're going to have to defer that one, Wayne. We'll just skip over that.
Okay.
We will have to approve the minutes
next
at
meeting.
the next meeting because
Okay.
nobody's
Sorry
had
about
time to review them.
Again, we'll just defer it over to the next meeting.
Yeah, okay. We'll gloss over that agenda item.
Melissa, can you see and hear me?
We can hear you, we just can't see you.
Yeah, I can't see myself either, so that makes two
You're
of us.
on as Adam, that's why you have to log
Was that,
out.
was that me? Oh,
Yeah, that's you.
oh, yeah, that's it. The troubles
There you
with
go.
these.
Here we can see you.
Yeah, I shall rename myself. I wouldn't want to be
Barb.
mistaken for Adam.
Evening, John.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, John.
Hi there.
Yeah, it's a good thing you mentioned that, John, because I wouldn't, I usually have them printed here in front of me and I don't have the minutes at all. So I must have missed that.
Yeah, I should have said something earlier, and I was looking at some stuff around lunchtime, and then I got sidetracked. And you know, when you get north of 50, you start to forget stuff. Melissa, you're nowhere close to that. So,
Well, I was going to say you were nowhere near that either, John.
well, a little bit.
Well, I'm at the stage where it should be a total loss of memory then.
We're lucky you're here tonight, eh, Wayne?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like a new night every night for me.
Yeah, that's right.
Robert, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Are we talking about memory loss? Because I don't want to brag, but I can forget what I'm doing while I'm doing it.
Okay, so I'm not the only one, Rob?
No, you're not. No.
And we have an Andrea on the screen tonight.
That's our applicant, Andrea Morrison.
Okay, thank you.
For our one file, and I'm sure we'd have a lot more people on tonight if the other one hadn't been withdrawn.
Yeah, I was more worried about the parking than the minutes.
No, we're still not in person, so at least we wouldn't have to deal with the crowds at the door.
That's right.
Okay, I've uploaded the minutes on to SharePoint, so
Okay.
we will approve those in April. Sorry, everyone.
How you doing, Adam?
Oh, not too bad.
Good.
Still haven't got that haircut you wanted me to get.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say something, but I thought I won't, not in front of everybody.
Yeah, it's a good thing you mentioned it, Adam, because I was going to say something too.
Yeah, yeah.
I had one booked on Monday, but 7Gens canceled it. So
I
You
don't know
would
what the
think,
big deal is, Adam. I've been able to have mine done.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, at least you got some there, Adam. I'm losing all mine here.
Well, maybe that's what I'm holding on to. I don't know. I'm scared at this point.
you would think a man in his position would have a nice haircut, but
No. It's all about giving the impression I'm worked ragged here.
Wayne and I could stop by tomorrow, Adam, by your office, and it'll only take us 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah. Just tie me down, shear me.
Sure.
There we go.
We're limited on our styles that we can offer, but
I know. I got to get it taken care of. It's going to happen.
did we hear from Tanis? Tanis was coming on tonight, and Bev?
Yeah, Tanis is coming. She did email me today, so you should see her.
I wonder where they are. Oh,
Looks like Deb's coming on.
That's me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Find where do I put my face? There I am. Hi.
good.
Hi, everybody.
hey there, how
I
are you?
always struggle with that. Good, thanks. How's everybody doing?
Good.
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 So we just hold on a bit for Tanis. Give her a few more minutes.
Okay.
I just sent her the link in case she was having a hard time locating it.
Yeah, that was what I was doing there. Oh, good.
So I have 6 o'clock, but maybe we'll just hang on a minute.
Sure.
Well, maybe we'll get started and then Tanis will hopefully log in. We'll do the preamble and see what happens. So this is a Planning Advisory Committee meeting for March 16th of 2021. And I'll do the preamble. As we gather, we recognize that we are on Treaty 3 lands, which are steeped in rich indigenous history and home to many First Nations and Métis people today. We continue to be thankful for the partnerships with our indigenous people. We give thanks for the many blessings we enjoy in the city of Kenora. We seek wisdom in our minds, clearness in our thinking, truth in our speaking, and always love in our hearts, so that we may try always to unite the citizens of Kenora. Let these principles guide us in our decision making. The committee members who I will ask to quickly raise their hands to the screen. Okay, have been appointed by council to consider applications for minor variances, consents, validation certificates, plans of subdivision, and condominium descriptions within the jurisdiction of the Planning Act. I would like to ask the Secretary Treasurer to perform a roll call for those members in attendance to ensure connectivity.
Wayne, I believe we can bypass that. We've had connection with all members prior to the commencement of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Prior to calling the meeting to order, please ensure your microphone is on mute. Should you be joining the meeting with video, please be mindful of what is visible to the public in your surroundings. Be respectful of others throughout the meeting. If at any time you wish to leave the meeting, you are free to do so by simply clicking on End Call at the bottom of your screen. If you are on a landline, you may hang up at any time. However, please do not interrupt the meeting to inform your dismissal. If at any time you require the attention of the chair, please raise your hand to the screen and wait to be acknowledged. Please note this meeting is being recorded, and by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. Tap Leave Meeting to opt out and exit the session. The applicants or agents will be given an opportunity to speak on behalf of their submissions and to respond to questions arising from discussions of these applications. Interested members of the public will also be given the opportunity to speak in favor of or in opposition to the applications being heard. When it's time for public comments, I will address the participants by the name that was used to register for this virtual PAC meeting. Once your name has been called, please then unmute your microphone or your telephone. All persons addressing the committee shall state their full name, mailing address, and must direct their comments through myself, the chair. Personal information collected as a result of this public meeting are collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments may be collected and may form part of the minutes, which will be available to the public. When addressing an application throughout the virtual meeting, your comments should be limited to 5 minutes. Once your comments are complete, please mute your microphone. Decisions will be mailed or emailed to the applicant, the agent, and to all other interested parties who have provided their mailing address and or email address to the Secretary Treasurer at mshaw@kenora.ca. Also, a notice of adjourned application or possible local planning appeal tribunal hearing will also be provided to those who have made a written request form via email to the Secretary Treasurer, mshaw@kenora.ca. The decision and or any condition imposed by the committee can be appealed to the local planning appeal tribunal. The notice of appeal for a minor variance application must be filed with the Secretary Treasurer within 20 days of the making of the decision. The notice of appeal for a land division application must be filed with the Secretary Treasurer within 20 days of the mailing of the notice. The Secretary Treasurer for the Kenora Planning Advisory Committee is Melissa Shaw. The City Planner is Kevin Sumner. The Manager of Development Services is Adam Smith. Hi, Tanis.
Apologize for being late.
Okay, fine, good. So we'll now call the meeting to order and we'll ask if there's any additions to the agenda.
I have 2 additions to add. Under new business, I'd like to add OCA training. And as a second addition, update on file D14-1902, otherwise known as the GAC file.
Sorry, which file?
The Gray Sand Cottage Club.
Okay.
D14-1902.
Okay. Declaration of interest by a member of this meeting or at a meeting at which a member was not present. Seeing none, we're going to go adoption of the minutes. We're going to put off to the next meeting as a few members did not receive the minutes, so we'll put that off to the meeting in April. Any additional correspondence relating to applications before the committee?
Yes, we did receive application from the agent representing file number D13-2103, withdrawing the application from today's agenda. There will be no hearing on application D13-2103 for property located on Portage Street, otherwise known as Ottawa Street.
Okay, thank you. So, and again, just for the committee, there'll be no discussion as well regarding that application. So we'll move to consideration of an application for minor variance, D13-2102, Coney Island. And, the applicants, are you prepared? Do you would like to present your application? Andrea or John?
Hi,
Hi.
here's me. Here's John. We're in a hotel room, so there's not a lot of places to sit.
All right. So would you like to present your application, or would you like us to go directly to the planning report?
Oh, well, I could do a little verbal overview. It might be easier.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So basically, we have just purchased the lot from our parents, and it's on the corner of Beach and Murdoch Streets on Coney Island, back from the main beach. And so I think the lot is 61 feet wide by 128 feet deep. And it requires a 15-meter setback from both Beach and Murdoch Street, which would leave us 0.6 meters to build on that lot. So we are requesting a variance from Murdoch Street, and we'd like to have it about 10.5 meters removed from the 15 meters, so that that leaves 4.5 meters from the edge of Murdoch Street. Our building, you know, we plan to have it 5 meters off, but just to give us that little bit of wiggle room so we don't end up in any trouble for a few inches or something. That's my brief overview.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We'll go to the planning report. Kevin, please.
Sure, and I'll just share my screen so that people can follow along with the report as I give it. I think everybody can see my my report now up on the screen.
We can, yeah.
Yeah. So as Ms. Morrison said, she's applied for a minor variance for 19 Beach Street along with John Norsh. The reduction, again, as noted, is from 15 meters to 4.5 meters for an exterior side yard in the RR rural residential zone to accommodate the location of a new dwelling on the property. And I will note that this is quite an exceptional property for the RR zone. The Coney Island properties, despite being a lot smaller than what would normally be expected for rural residential properties, are zoned as rural residential to reflect the lack of year-round servicing and the seasonal nature of dwellings historically on the island. And you can see there an image of an aerial view of the property in question as it sits right now. And you will note too that when we talk about an exterior side yard, it's because the west side of the property does border on Murdoch Street. There's no actual street there, a healthy stand of trees in that location, but it does legally exist as a So it is currently developed with residence and accessory structures. The applicants have indicated that the existing residence, which you can see in figure 2 centrally to the picture, is being relocated on the property and converted into a sleep cabin, and that the variance is required to accommodate a new primary residence on the property. So I was out there on March 6th using the last of the winter roads to take a site photo of the property from Beach Street there, which you can see in the figure. In terms of consistency with legislative policy and city directives, we believe that the application is generally consistent with the policies of the provincial policy statement, which promotes residential development that is locally appropriate and states that development that is compatible with the rural landscape and can be sustained by rural service levels should be promoted. In terms of the official plan, the land use designation of the property is rural area, which provides for a variety of uses, which includes residential and recreational. In terms of the zoning bylaw, the property is zoned RR Rural Residential Zone. Development is subject to the regulations of section 4.5 of the zoning bylaw. Specifically, seasonal dwellings are permitted use. Lots in the zone must normally have a minimum exterior side yard of 50 meters. An exterior side yard, as I mentioned, is one which abuts a public street. The property is approximately 18.6 meters in width, which makes it impossible to locate a new primary structure on the property while respecting the required setback. Therefore, the property owners have requested this minor variance down to 4.5 meters. Results of interdepartmental and agency circulation. We circulated this on February 19th. In terms of responses, the engineering department noted that there will only be one sewer and water connection allowed to the lot that currently exists. The sewer and water division is aware of the proponent's intention for sewer and water routing within the lot, seeing as there will be 2 structures. And no other departments submitted any concerns. In terms of public comments, we circulated the notice of the application and hearing in accordance with Section 45 of the Act, where it was circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property, and notice was posted on the property on March 5th, 2021. Notice was also provided to the persons and public bodies as prescribed. I think there were some questions about circulation, and I can confirm that I received at least 2 phone calls in the last week or so from neighbors that did receive notice and had questions about exactly what was being applied for here. So it sounds like at least some neighbors would have received the notice. I think some of the property owners within that 60 meters would have been out of province, so there may have been a delay in some owners getting it compared to local property owners. So the virtual public health meeting is being held now, and as of the date of the report and since, no public comments have been received. As I noted, I did receive a couple of questions, but they were satisfied with my explanation or description, and we did receive no formal comments. In terms of evaluation, section 3.15.5 of the official plan states that new development shall be assessed on compatibility with the established community and ability to coexist with existing development without causing undue adverse impact on surrounding properties. I believe that the proposed variances are compatible with the pattern of surrounding community and would not cause any adverse impact. The required exterior side yard in the RR zone is reasonable on the larger residential lots typical of that zone, but does not accommodate redevelopment of small lots on Coney Island that predate modern zoning regulations and are considered rural by virtue of their lack of year-round municipal services, despite sizes that are typical of urban areas of the city. Therefore, the requested minor variance is a reasonable request to accommodate the addition of a new primary dwelling on the property. And I've summarized their notes in response to the 4 tests that are to be applied to any application for minor variance. That I think basically summarize points that have already been raised elsewhere in the report. So I'll just jump there to my recommendation, which is that the Planning Advisory Committee takes into consideration those comments that may yet to be received, and that the application D13-21-02 to seek relief from the City of Kenora Zoning Bylaw 101-2015, Section 4.5.3E, which requires a minimum exterior side yard of 15 meters for properties zoned RR, rural residential zone, to allow for the location of a new primary residence with an exterior side yard of 4.5 meters, meets the 4 tests and should be approved. With that,
Thank you, Kevin.
the report.
So I'd like to just go back to the applicant for a second. Do you have anything you'd like to add at this time?
No, I think Kevin did a really good job there. Yeah, we got that property. There's a little wee sleep camp on it. It's about 300 square feet. And it's the size of a typical residential lot. So we'd like to be able to build a cottage a little bigger than 300 square feet to accommodate our family of 4. Okay. And that's about it. Our family's been on those properties, well, the one for over 40 years. And I think my dad purchased the one that we just bought from him about 25 or 30 years ago. So we just love Coney Island and spend all year just fantasizing about getting back there. So we're
Thank
hoping
you.
we can build something.
Okay, I don't believe there's anybody from the public that would like to speak in favor of or against the application. I see no public. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's questions of the committee. And Tanis, I'm going to start with you, okay? You had a question that I'm not sure got answered this afternoon. So we'll start with you.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Question for Kevin and the applicant. When I was reading the planning report, my interpretation of that is really perhaps the zoning the zone's not quite right for the size of the lots. And so because they're sized more like a rural R1 zone, this is a minor variance. My question then is, if we're treating it as if it's an R1 zone, because that's what the size of the lots are, if with the new development and the existing sleep cabin, are we covering too much of the lot? How much of the lot will be covered? Because in R1, you can only cover 40% of the lot.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry. I believe I looked at that, and I believe we're well under a 40% lot coverage, even with the addition of the new dwelling. It's certainly I shouldn't say well under. The applicant is under it. Not a whole lot of room to spare, but it would satisfy that. It would be reflective of other development in the city in being under that 40% requirement.
We're actually under 25% because that was our understanding of what the restriction was for how it is zoned. So we actually made it so that we're just under the 25% lot coverage.
Yeah, as I was speaking here, I was just frantically double checking my zoning, but yeah, it is 25% in rural areas.
So following the rural zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Ray, can we go to you next?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I have a number of questions to touch on or get clarification on, and I guess I'll throw them out to Kevin and Andrea to answer. Either or, it doesn't really matter. Just a clarification from the application there. It talks about seasonal sewer. Can you define that, Kevin? What does seasonal sewer mean?
Yeah, so those lots, those seasonal lots, those smaller ones at the north end of Coney Island, there is just what it says, during the warmer months, there is a connection that's run across from the a municipal connection that services those lots with sewer and water. That service isn't available during colder months.
So is it a pump out system, or how does it work? Is it a holding tank? Like,
no, we're attached to municipal services from May till October. It's the lines come, I think they come down across where the footbridge comes under the water.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to interrupt just for a second, Ray.
Yeah, go ahead.
Melissa, can you finish that conversation? You did some homework on that.
We did some homework. Kevin, can you share your GIS? Do you have the capability of doing that right now? I can attempt to, just to show where the line is. It does come across under the water, like the applicant has identified. And really, as Kevin has said, it is seasonal. So when the temperatures allow, then the service is there for those residents of Coney Island.
Yeah, I'm just opening my GIS, so just give me 1 minute here and I can actually
yeah, my apologies, Kevin, for putting you on the spot there. Likewise, mine is not open either.
Never never opens fast when you need it. Okay, here.
So again, Ray, I guess that still doesn't really answer your question, right? It's
Well, no.
not sewer year round.
Well, if it's hooked up to a municipal service, I guess that's fine. I was just wondering what it was, if it was a holding tank or is it a septic field or what. That's all. I was just curious, but I guess it's been answered. If it's a municipal service, I'm satisfied with that.
Here, I've got it pulled up here now. Just as soon as I click on my my right layers here. So here's if you can see my mouse here on the screen, here's the property in question. If we zoom in, the water line is shown as the light blue line on the map there, and it connects across.
Do you have your sewer line on, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm just I do have it on, so it runs under the. Yeah, so where the footbridge is, or just north of that, is where it runs across under the lake, and oh, I had sewer points on, not sewer lines here. Oh. Yeah, okay, so the red is the sewer line there, so you can see it runs across at the same point, and over that highland there, and then down Beach Street. Sorry, this refresh. There you can see the connections through onto the lots on Beach Street there.
Okay, so they
Good, Ray?
Yeah, so they do have a system. Okay. The other, I have some other questions. When I'm looking at the GIS aerial view, it appears that the neighbor's cottage is encroaching, or both cottages are encroaching. And then we have the sketch of the proposed cottage. I was just wondering if there was a survey that goes along with this. Do you have a survey, Andrea?
I don't have a survey, but I do know where the survey post is, down in that southeast corner. And that cottage, which is my parents', is not encroaching on my property. I think that it's as if you're hovering over top of the property, but a little bit to the east, and then they impose the lines, because yeah, it's all out of whack. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is out of whack a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, our GIS lines are reasonably accurate, but anytime you try to lay property lines over an aerial image, you can see from looking here, you can see the front door of that cottage. And I can attest that it actually does stand straight up. It's not leaning over. So you can tell just from there that the angle is actually somewhat from the east in terms of where that image was taken, or where that aerial photograph was taken from.
And actually, like we have measured from, we know where all 4 posts are for this property that I've purchased. And yeah, I mean, we've done all the measuring many times.
Okay, well, that leads me into my next question, because I'm doing the measuring off your sketch, and going by your measurements on the width there, the property's 18.6 meters wide.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking for a setback of 4.5 meters on the west side.
Yeah.
The width of the house is 8.5. It appears there's 2.13 meters between the relocated cottage and the new cottage.
Yeah.
The old cottage is 3.7 meters, and then you have another 1 meter interior side yard setback. Well, that adds up to 19.83, which is wider than your lot. So how does that work?
So what's 61 feet work out to in meters? Because I do everything imperial, so I converted everything, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Well, I don't have it in feet either, because your application's submitted in meters in the drawing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't add up. That's my concern. And you know, I understand the issue of the setback, you know.
Yeah,
given
so I
the
mean,
size of
it,
the lot, but your
not quite
measurements
sure.
don't, your measurements
don't-
don't add up.
yeah, I don't have it in
I'm pulling it up.
front of me. I can pull it up. Just one sec here.
Here, I'll share screen again.
61 feet is 18.59 meters.
Right. So 18.6. So let me just grab it here.
So here's the, everybody should be able to see the site plan now.
Oh, you've got that, Kevin? Okay, great.
So then the front of the property is towards the bottom of the screen in this image. And
Well, you can clearly see the dimensions going across from left to right. You got 1 meter there for the side yard, 3.7 for the existing house that you're relocating, right?
Okay, so John, can you go 12 feet converted to meters so I can double check that these are correct? So the existing cottage is 12 feet
And
wide.
so you divide it by 0.30.
Just go convert feet to meters. Okay, so put in 12 feet and tell me what it is in meters. I can't read it. I don't have the glasses on.
12 feet is
3.65. So I rounded it up. So it's 3.658 meters. So I rounded to 3.7, but maybe should be sticking to 3.658. I need a pen.
Well, it's still not even close. And I guess where I'm getting at it, it's not,
No,
yeah, Andrea, excuse me, it's not an accurate drawing. And, you know, we don't have a survey. How can we trust where these measurements, you know, I'm concerned with that. So given that at this point, I can't support the application. It's clearly not correct. We'll skip that. We'll just go to some of the other questions.
what was the width of your cottage? I'm just trying to.
Okay, so the existing sleep camp is 12 feet wide.
Yeah.
And then the new build, I can't read.
Is it 8.5
It's
meters?
28 feet wide for the new build.
So
8.53 meters for 28 feet.
The 28 feet and the 12 feet. So that's 40 feet. Sorry, I just can't do all this and convert at the same time. And then I've got a 61-foot wide property. So that's 21 feet remaining. So I've got 1 meter or 3 feet on the east side of the property. So that brings me down to 18. And 2.13 meters, John, is how many feet?
Mr. Chair, I think it's clear that we need an
I think could I
drawing.
just have an opportunity to respond? I'm sorry. 6'11", so that's 7. So that leaves 11 feet remaining. So 11 feet to meters.
.35.
Yeah, 3.3.
3.3. You're right. So what was the minimum? I think there's a minimum distance between the sleep camp and the new build.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering if that's where they're crept in there. I'm just pulling that up.
Well, that's another question I have, Kevin, is I believe the 2 meters is probably within the bylaw between the buildings. But by the time you have the eave extensions on there and eaves troughs, you're going to be able pretty much to walk from one building to the next. It's going to be pretty
Well,
close.
Well,
That-
we stayed in a cottage that's 2 properties up, and I modeled it after that. And they had, I think it was about 7 feet between the cottages, and it wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah,
John, how
we
many-
do have situation in which the eaves overlap even, and
Yeah, that's not the issue. I'm just saying it's going to be close. That's all. It's going to be tight. But Kevin, a couple other things are just to touch on is we've got the application for a variance for the exterior side yard. When I was reviewing the bylaw, isn't the same setbacks required for the front and rear yards? Like the rear yards should be 8 meters and the front yard should be 15 as well. So wouldn't we be looking at a minor variance for that as well?
the front yard is allowed to line up with adjacent properties. So in a case where you're between 2 properties, you can take the average front yard of existing dwellings. In this case, there's only 1 neighboring dwelling, so she's allowed to line up with the front yard of the property to the east.
which
So
is what we did.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
I'll live with that. I can live with that.
So
Yeah, I know
Kevin, did you get that distance between the buildings?
yeah, it is required to be 2 meters between the 2 buildings wall to wall. And
So how many feet is that?
That's 2 meters is about 80 inches.
6'6".
Sorry?
It's about 80
6'6".
inches.
Can't hear with both people talking at once. Sorry.
So it'd be about 6 feet 8
6
inches.
feet, 6 inches?
6 feet 8 inches, about 80 inches.
Okay.
Okay, so Ray, I'm gonna give it back to you, okay? And that you can finish your question there.
Okay, well, the bottom line is I'm concerned there's no accurate dimensions, and we have no guarantee that the dimensions are accurate because there's no survey. So we can't tell if there's encroachments. We can't tell if there's, you know, if this is accurate. So given that, I'm
Okay.
having trouble supporting the application as it sits. That's all.
So
We
let's
do
go-
know
let's-
we do know the lot size. There was an old the original survey of the property was provided, so we know the outside dimensions to be accurate on the property.
Okay, so let's hold this conversation and finish with the committee, and then we'll bring it back to discussion, okay?
Very good.
Okay, Ray. Bev, I'm gonna go to you next. Can you remove that from the screen, Kevin?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Bev, we're gonna go to you next. Bev? We can't hear you, Bev.
Okay.
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Well, anyway, I have 68 feet, 28 feet on the side, according to the plan we have presented. That's all I have. I didn't have any other questions. Thank you. I don't have questions.
I need you
Can you
to, I need you
repeat
to,
that?
I need you to quickly repeat that. I didn't get that.
Oh, okay. The survey, when I calculated, it was in chains. This is in chains, the survey. So it's 61.38 feet, the frontage, and 128 feet are on the sides.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, and I have no questions.
okay.
Thank you.
Robert, let's go to you next.
No questions, Mr. Chair, but certainly I'd like to reserve some time for discussion, especially of Lori's comments. So
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. John Barr?
The only thing I have is looking, you want to relocate the current structure towards the building on the east, or towards the lot line on the east, in the same, sort of the same direction. Is that correct?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear what your question was.
Oh, you're planning to relocate the existing structure to the east towards the building that's already there, right?
Well, it's ahead of the building that's already there, but yes, moving it toward the east to make it 1 meter off the property line. Because it
Okay.
becomes an accessory building, it can be 1 meter off the property line.
Okay. There's no other, and I guess that's sort of set in stone. There's no other way, no other place you could relocate the building. And then kind of raise questions around property width.
No, there's, well, not really. I mean, there's always the option to tear it down and not use it.
Okay, so it's not easy to relocate the building, say in a different configuration or different area and still have an existing room for the new structure you want to build.
No, well, I hadn't considered that, but I mean, it's possible it could fit at the back of the property, but then we would probably need to ask for a variance. It would be at the back end there. Yeah.
As long as it's 1 meter off all the property lines, there probably would be room in the back.
So that might work then.
Okay, no other questions?
Not something I had ever contemplated, so.
A lot of ground.
Okay, John, is that good?
Yeah, that's good for now. Thank you.
Okay, John McDougall?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions? Okay, so my question, Kevin, I want to sort of address this to you. Have you been able, just in the time since we've got here, have you been able to determine the numbers?
Yeah, yeah. I wish I had good news for you, and I don't know how an error slipped in here. I know Andrew and I were back and forth when this was in the planning phases. But if the dimensions are correct on both of the dwellings, then we do come up about 1 meter short.
Okay.
I don't know. I just
So is
can't
there anybody else?
Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Is there anything else question-wise? Ray?
Mr. Chair, if I could ask a question.
Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Chair. I was just wanted to clarify maybe before we got into discussion, Kevin, the 1 meter side yard has to include the eaves. So when we hear that the cottage is 12 feet wide, is the measurement 12 feet eave to eave, or is it 12 feet of the structure?
No, that's to the side of the structure. The eaves are allowed to encroach into half of that remaining yard.
Okay.
You good, Robert? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm just thinking because I thought we've had that where we didn't allow that. So I'll just try to look that up. But thanks, Mr. Chair, for now.
Okay. Ray, have you, question-wise, you have more questions?
No, I don't have any more questions.
Okay. So if there's no more or we'll move into discussion. And who would like to open discussion? John Barr?
No, I think I'll listen this time.
Okay. Robert, you,
I could certainly start off with the discussion if you want. I think Ray's got the most valid points to it if he wants to talk about discussion, but kind of where we are right now, Mr. Chair, is the math doesn't add up. We're 1.2 meters short. So really, possibly at this time, we either maybe asked to defer so that we can get some accurate measurements, or I guess maybe we have the option of approving this. They just have to build it to that. They have to stay 4.5 meters from the side, and whatever they get, they get. I don't know if that's an option or not, Mr. Chair. I'll leave it for the rest of the group.
I'm gonna go to Ray. Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, based on the calculations that they've submitted, they're 1.23 meters wider than what they have to work with. The only options I see are we get I guess to prove the dimensions, we get an accurate survey done, which I would lean towards, or this variance won't be 4.5, it'll be more like 3.27, so they'd be looking at a variance request of 11.73 meters. So we'd have to give them a bigger variance, or they make the cabin smaller. I mean, there's options, but what
So-
direction do we want to go?
Oh, hold
Can I
on,
just-
Andrea. Andrea, hold on. Hold on.
right.
Hold on.
So
Go ahead, Ray.
my preference would be an accurate survey to prove up where these buildings are actually going to sit, where the encroachments are, if there is any, because it appears to me there are. But I'd like to see an accurate application is what I'd like to see.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll leave it at that for now.
So Ray, I just want to ask you, with the applicant knowing where the 4 bars are, and obviously the diagram that they thought was correct is not correct, would you be satisfied with an accurate sketch?
Yeah, I guess I would, but the accurate sketch is either going to have 2 things. It's going to have a smaller cabin by 1.23 meters, or it's going to request a larger variance, because their request is 1.23 meters wider than the space they have to work with. So,
Something
Yes,
comment?
correct.
but yeah,
Okay,
if they can, if
Go
they,
ahead, go ahead, sorry.
okay, go ahead. I'm fine.
Okay. Tanis?
I guess my only point of discussion is walking down Beach Street. For a rural residential area, it already really feels crowded. So that's opinion, not fact. And of course, we have to stick to the facts. But I throw it out there as discussion. Is it appropriate for this area to feel crowded?
No. 11.5
Okay, so again,
is how many meters?
when you're saying that, I'm not sure. Could you just elaborate a little bit more there?
33 meters.
I guess if we had an accurate sketch and accept the 4 points, there's not much we can, we would have to go ahead and approve. But is this really a minor variance? Like there just seems to be a lot of conflict between what's historically been allowed, because it was before all these rules, versus should we continue that being allowed under the current zoning and municipal bylaws.
Well,
All right, okay, so
If I can,
go
if I
ahead,
can
Ray.
jump in there- If I can jump in there again, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
go ahead.
I have no issue with the proposal as a whole. Like, the building the new cabin, that's a great idea, all that stuff. Relocating the existing one for a sleep cabin or a storage building, that's all fine. My concern is the accuracy of it. I mean, how can we approve something that we can't guarantee the dimensions? I mean, there's no
Yeah, correct.
there's no survey, there's no accurate dimensions, so how can we support it at this point?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, John McDougall.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Good discussion here. I'm just wondering, the perspective that I have on it is that if we approve the application for the variance down to, 4.5 meters and let the applicant worry about the dimensions of the buildings and how that plays out after the fact, they know what they have to work with when the meeting closes tonight. So that's kind of where I look at it. And I was wondering, if you walk the area, and I know that it I agree with Tanis, it has an element or sort of a feel of being a little bit crowded there, but so the entire area does. So it's not something new, and it's and I think it'd be great for the applicant to be able to build something, and it will get crowded. That whole area is just, that's the nature of it. But I'm wondering if for that exterior side yard, if we should be looking at the residential first density zone where it's a 4 meter number. Maybe, I don't know if it's something we can amend and just go to the 4 meters and and slightly modify the application, and then they've got a little bit of wiggle room to work with on their dimensions, but they know what it is. If it's a 4 meter or 4.5 meter exterior side yard, then that's what they have to work with, and they'll have to lengthen their building or do some modifications to their plan. And I'm not even sure if the applicants have a set plan, or if they're just looking at the what's available, for space, and getting this approval process looked after before they establish a plan.
Okay, so hold on, Andrea. I just want to finish with the whole discussion first. Bev?
Well, my feeling is that we do have a plan survey, and they provided that lot 7 on this plan. So we know what it is, we know what the dimensions are, but I agree with Ray that the plan that they have presented is inaccurate. So we should have something like that fixed up. But I had wondered, Murdoch Street is not in use. I wonder, can they purchase, a couple of meters of that street? Would that solve the problem? It'd be expensive, but that would solve some of the problem. Kevin, what are your words on that?
Well, anybody has the right to apply to purchase city property. I'm not in a position to, to be able to speculate as to the likelihood of the success of such an application without a technical review internally.
So can I just sort of sum something up here from where I can see everybody's going with this?
Okay.
If we put forward the sketch that we have, and then expect the applicant to work within this sketch, they're not going to be able to. It's not what they want. So I would suggest that in bare minimum, we ask the applicant to come back with another sketch. But unfortunately, for them to come back with another sketch that would be what they actually want, it means putting this over for 30 days. So once again, working with the sketch, if we approve the sketch that we have, it's not what they want. So once again, to say that they could work inside of this sketch, it's not what they really want. So once again, I think if we had an accurate sketch, at the least, as long as they know where if they know where the 4 bars are, and we had an accurate sketch to work off of, that may be one way of correcting this. You really don't know what you're approving here.
Yeah.
Okay,
I agree.
John
I think
Barr?
we should defer it for a month.
Sorry.
I
Bev,
think
go
we
ahead.
should defer it for a month.
John Barr?
You can't hear me again?
Yeah, we got it. John
Can you hear
Barr?
me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear.
I'm kind of with John McDougall. We're approving
Okay.
a variance here down to 4.5 meters, which will be from the property line on the west side to the side of the building. The width of from that point on, the width of the building, I think, is up to the proponent. And if they have to narrow the building down a little bit to be within the zoning bylaw, so be it. Like John suggested, it's a variance to the side of the building. It's for the proponent to figure out where to put the buildings, and if she wants to tear down the current building and move the new building, make it a little wider, and move it to 4.5. I think that's up to the proponent. That's not up to us to figure out the building sizes and things like that, assuming the property lines. I mean, when you look at the aerial photograph with the or look at Coney Island, basically all the buildings are probably outside the zoning bylaw. They're all in violation of the zoning bylaw. And part of the problem is that the zoning bylaw, in identifying Coney Island as rural residential, there is no zoning for like recreational properties, such as those that exist on Coney Island. So you got to sort of meander through the rules and figure out on a lot by lot basis, given the environment that the properties are in.
Okay, Tanis, go ahead.
Before deciding whether to defer or to go ahead tonight, I'd like to hear from the applicant. If we agree to a 4-meter variance, are they okay with that and they can go forward with figuring out how to work with that?
Okay, so hold on, I want to hold that question right there.
Yep.
Robert?
Hey, thanks, Mr. Chair. So my apologies there. I was a little bit confused with the actual zoning. I thought it said RU, but it's actually RR. So, Mr. Chair, can I ask a question to the planner?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So through you to the planner, is the RR zone not a 3-meter interior? Because R1 is 1 meter, or no, it's not.
Yeah, it is a 3-meter interior on the primary dwelling, but accessory dwellings are allowed to be within a 1 meter of the property line.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And actually, I just want to correct one fact. I said the eaves could be half of that side yard. They can actually encroach into 0.4 meters of that side yard. They have to be 0.6 meters clear of the side yard.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Sorry, me move on.
Okay, so let's give the applicant an opportunity to sort of sum up what they've heard. But can Andrea just hold on for 1 sec. Kevin, one question I'd like to ask you. So in this conversation, you're talking about changing the application, correct? Well, you're talking about changing the side yard. No?
Well,
is that what I'm hearing?
From me?
So
That came from me, Mr. Chair. I just
okay,
said,
so what I'm saying is that can we even do that?
I would say if you're granting less than what was requested, then I'd recommend we should re-advertise and bring this back in the interest of transparency. If it was going the opposite direction, I'd say we're probably fine. But in terms of it is unfortunate that this math slipped through to this point. But I would say that if the applicant is willing to move forward and find other ways of meeting the 4.5 meter setback, what's being requested here is the setback, and it's great that they provided enough information that we could drill into it like we have. But as long as they could meet all the other setbacks and change their site plan to be compliant with the 4.5 meter, I'd say, if it just comes to shifting things around the site to make it work with the 4.5 meter setback, there'd be no need to re-advertise or defer for that kind of change.
So Andrea, go ahead.
Okay, so just people were asking, and so that you're aware, I already do have a building plan that has been done. And I also want to say thank you for bringing forward the fact that my measurements were out of whack. And as you were speaking, I was trying to think, oh, maybe the inaccuracy was a result of the fact that I was working from imperial to metric. But even in going back through, you're right, it doesn't quite add up. My preference is very much to keep that sleep camp. It was built in the 1930s, and it's just, it's a special place for us. And I really didn't want to have to tear it down. But Kevin, can you just confirm, did you say then that our primary building, the one we want to build, could be 3 meters from Murdoch Street if I were to request request that in a variance application?
Well, the 3 meters were, I was referring to 3 meters off of the other property line, the interior side yard setback. As far as further reducing the setback off of Murdoch, that's where I was referring to. We would have to re-advertise, or I would recommend re-advertising, because we've communicated to the public that we'd be reducing it to 4.5 meters. And but to actually request a further variance than what was requested, while I don't see any real red flags with further reducing it, but we'd have to advertise that to the public in terms of posting on the site.
Right. So I can
Well-
totally appreciate what you're saying in terms of being transparent about this. So then my next question would be, is it within the realm of possibility to make that request for a 3 meter instead of the 4.5 meter? Is that reasonable and within the possibilities?
Yeah, it's certainly reasonable to request any variance from any regulation that anyone feels unfairly impacts them. Ultimately, the decision, though, does rest with the Planning Advisory Committee. So, it's certainly reasonable to request, but it would have to come back for a decision.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
So Andrea,
Yeah,
so what I think I'm getting here, and rather than discussing sort of how we can get there, it means redoing what you've done.
yeah.
So it means putting it over for 30 days.
Okay, so is it only 30 days then? Like when would I have to have the application back into you by to make the next meeting in 30 days?
Melissa,
The next meeting is April 20th.
Okay,
when would you have to have it in, Melissa?
We would appreciate something sooner than later, so within the next 2 weeks for sure. It should be fairly straightforward for you, Andrea.
Yeah.
To amend that, it's really just the site plan and then the section in the application that you're requesting relief. So internally, we can certainly work with you, but yeah, if we can work diligently together, that would be appreciated.
yeah. Just let me check. Wouldn't you rather do that, John? Yeah. So I think that's our preference, is to be able to reapply to get it settled in the way that we would like and retain both buildings generally in relation to each other as is shown. Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, go ahead, John McDougall.
Just a quick comment for Andrea. You might, if you've got a building plan that you've established with some draftsperson or some architect or whatever, you might be able to kind of go one step further and give them the dimensions of the property, and they could help you place that building on there. And
I tried that with my draftsperson several occasions, and I was not getting accurate stuff back from them. And that's when I decided to do it on my own. And I don't know, I just went through this so many times. I don't know how I got it wrong, but these things happen. So I appreciate that it was brought to my attention. We need to have that brought to our attention anyways. So I obviously want the whole thing to be accurate. And yeah, I'm sorry that happened. It certainly wasn't my intention, but it did. And I just like to make sure we can get it right for next time.
Okay, committee members, we're gonna put it over for 30 days. Everybody's in favor of that, okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Fine. Okay, Melissa, can you,
Yeah.
sorry,
Wayne, can I have a member of the committee put a motion forward to defer it based on a revised site plan and
Please, yeah.
amendment to the section that we are requesting relief, which my apologies.
Sure, I'll move to defer.
Ray
And
Pearson?
I can second, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, good.
So Andrew, we can work with you, Kevin and myself internally here. We will have to recirculate that application. There will be a nominal fee for that, but we can discuss that outside of this committee meeting. So you can feel free to connect with us as soon as you have some availability.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it'll be next week. We're away from home right now, so.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks
We'll-
everyone.
we'll see you in a month's time.
Okay, thanks
Okay,
very much.
thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, let's move on to new business. Election of chair and vice chair.
Yes, so my apologies to the committee. This was overlooked at our last meeting, but as you are aware, annually we do hold an election for the positions of chair and vice chair. So if committee members are ready, I would like to commence with those proceedings. So if I could ask that, sorry, I'm just trying to find myself here. Okay, so I'm going to turn it to the committee to ask for any nominations for the position of chair.
I'll nominate Wade Gold for position of chair.
Okay, bear with me. For a second time, I'll ask if there are any nominations for the position of chair. Seeing none, I will ask a third and final time if there are any nominations for the position of chair of the Planning Advisory Committee. And seeing that there are none, Mr. Wayne Gall, do you accept the nomination for position of chair?
I accept, yes.
You accept. As there were no other nominations, we are not required to have a vote. So I'll move on to the position or nomination for the position of vice chair, and I'll open the floor to any nominations that would be made. This is my first call for a request for nomination for the position of vice chair.
I'll nominate Ray Pearson for the position of vice chair.
Thank you. Second time asking for a nomination for the position of vice chair. Seeing none, I will ask a third and final time for any nominations for the position of vice chair. Okay, Mr. Ray Pearson, do you accept that nomination for the position of vice chair?
I accept and thank you for the nomination.
Perfect. And again, being that there were no other nominations, we are not required to hold a vote. So that closes that portion of our agenda. Thank you to Mr. Wayne Gall and Mr. Ray Pearson for once again holding your positions of chair and vice chair to the Planning Advisory Committee. And we can move on, Wayne. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Official plan and zoning bylaw review. Who's gonna address that?
We'll hand that over to Kevin just to give a little update on that process as it is constantly ongoing.
Yeah, not much to add since last meeting. Since the presentation to council by the team at WSP, they've been working on drafting the new official plan. It's actually just this week we're able to provide it to our technical advisory committee for review, and we'll be having a meeting on Monday to review the draft with them. And then based on their feedback, there'll be further edits, I expect, to the draft plan before it's in a form that can be reviewed by council and the public to solicit broader input into what will eventually be the final official plan. So I guess the best I can tell you right now is stay tuned in this spring, and I guess spring's only a few days away. But at some point this spring, you will be able to see the first draft of or the first public draft of what will eventually become our new official plan.
Okay, thank you. OCA training.
Okay, that's back to me. Yeah, so we did receive communication from the Ontario Association of Committee of Adjustments of Consent Authority. So this is typically what we know as our annual spring training. Obviously, as the result of the pandemic, it is going virtual this year. So it is nice that we will have the opportunity to partake in some training that will be offered virtually. So internally, the date they have selected, sorry, just to backtrack, is Tuesday, June 8th. So I'd like committee members to just schedule that in your calendar if you are available and willing. buildings are currently open. So depending on what provincial regulations are, come June 8th, we would like to explore the opportunity to have PAC members join us here at the Operations Center to host something, socially distant in the training room by way of that those virtual sessions that OCA will be hosting. So there'll be more news from me moving forward, but if anybody, if everybody can look at their calendars and just let me know over the course of the next coming weeks, if you are interested and able to attend, I'll send something more formal out by way of email as well, along with the workshops. There's some that I have highlighted that I think would be really good for the committee. And so those are the ones that I think I'll recommend that we register for. But I will send you more information in the coming days on that. Okay.
Okay, very good. I'm just wondering, I had one more note here, would be under old business, but Adam, can you give us any kind of an update? We've been noticing there's an agreement apparently to the resolution with LPAT with the Anchor Inn property. Is there anything you can share with us?
Yeah, so fortunately we were able to reach a resolution between the parties there regarding I guess in the area of 543 Lakeview related to the Grey Sand Cottage Club development. So as part of the process, in order to have LPAT issue that order, basically kind of concluding the appeal, the first step is having that resolution from council basically saying that we agree with the proposed draft bylaw. Subsequent to that, we will be having a solicitor provide that confirmation and a package of other details, just confirming that we're okay with the settlement, and that from there, the new draft bylaw will go into effect.
So that settlement, is that settlement able to be shared with, or is that settlement just for council?
No, I'm sure we can share with the Planning Advisory Committee. It was attached to a public report, so we could share that draft bylaw.
I'd like to see it shared with everybody so that they can sort of follow what the process has been and where it's going. And I think it would be beneficial.
No problem.
If we could do that. John, you had a question? John Barr?
Yeah, the appeal was based on 3 points from what I can determine from the internet. And the resolution covers all 3 points?
No, so the resolution, it got actually, as we moved forward the process, the concerns evolved a little bit as well, because unfortunately, when we started going through the process, we got caught up in this, the new Bill 108 that the province put forward, which it changed change the criteria to which LPAT evaluates appeals. And then so they asked for, they gave the opportunity for the appellant to issue another letter. But it definitely, just thinking back some of the language there, and then also, where on the onset when that appeal was issued, I think the compatibility concerns expressed there were resolved. I think a lot of that pertained to that area C. So looking at in terms of the massing there, it was certainly there's now a height restriction that is tied to that area C in that building, as well as the dwelling unit that was initially proposed on top of that structure on area C is no longer going to be permitted. So those are kind of a couple of the key points that were resolved as part of the mediation.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, so we'll get an opportunity, whatever you can pass on to us, that'd be great.
Yep.
Anything else? Anybody have anything else they'd like to? Okay, seeing none. Oh, sorry, Tanis.
A quick question. I'm getting a lot of questions about the announcement in the paper about the Blue Heron building.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is nothing's been approved, and that was just them going ahead and putting forth some advertising. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for developments like that to put out kind of conceptual imagery that may or may not reflect what will eventually be built there. Based on the imagery that was presented, I can assure you with a fair amount of confidence that planning approvals would be required. but we haven't gotten anything formal from the developers yet at this point.
All right, that will continue to be my answer then.
Okay, yeah, good. All right, John Barr, you want to call it a night?
Yeah, let's call it a night.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, good night.
Yeah.
Take care.
Right.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you.